Hey, welcome back or welcome for the first time if you are a new listener. But shout out to my day 1 to 97, whatever week you came in and continue to listen right now. Today, I want to talk about something that I don't know. I'm newer to this, and so I don't know how often this gets talked about. I don't want to say it doesn't get discussed very often. I just don't know that I've heard a ton about it. But basically, it's like being in a season where you are praying more and talking less, and not because you don't need the support or not because you're shutting people out, but simply because God is inviting you into something quieter and more intentional so that he can do a deeper work in you. So if you're someone like me who sometimes feels the urge to explain what you're going through, or I am an external processor, so, like feeling the need to process it out loud with people, or maybe even if you're someone who has felt the need to defend decisions that you're still really trying to figure it out, this episode hopefully is helpful for you, because the reality is that sometimes there are moments in life when sharing less with people actually makes more room for you to be able to hear from God. Now, what I've noticed is kind of like I will feel the need to talk to people when things are heavy, confusing, painful. Like I said, I'm an external processor. So for me, my natural instinct is to maybe not necessarily, talk to everybody, but I do have like my people that I will process things with. Sometimes there have been situations where I wanted my feelings to be validated. Sometimes I've needed reassurance. And sometimes I've just needed someone to say like, hey, you're not crazy for feeling that way. And, talking it out in different seasons has felt like a relief. And it can feel like it's helping me move forward. And it can also feel like it's helping me make some progress. But what I'm kind of learning in this season right now is that sometimes talking to people has actually become like a substitute for praying. And there has actually been times when like I've processed it with people before I even really process it with God. And then there are times that I have looked for clarity in the conversation instead of just trying to rest in God's presence as I'm praying. And the thing about it is that not every question that we have or everything we go through needs an audience. Not every season needs like the advice of people and commentary. Like some things are actually meant to be carried quietly with you and God before they're ever shared publicly. And the thing about it is there has to be wisdom in knowing when you're in that season. And then you have to think about like, who do you usually run to first when things do get heavy or confusing or whatever? Because, man, I'm just seeing that talking more sometimes when you're being invited into a season of, I don't want to say isolation, consecration is the word that comes to mind, but we'll just say deeper intimacy and, kind of being set apart with you and God. Like when you're being invited into that season, I'm seeing that talking more actually creates more noise and confusion than it does clarity. Now, as I said, I'm not saying isolating, right? Isolation is it pulls you away from people, sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of hurt, sometimes out of just confusion or whatever, or maybe even shame if you're just not wanting to share things with people. So I'm not talking about isolation, right? But with consecration, that actually draws you closer to God, and it's an intentional thing, and you're doing it like with trust. And the thing about it is God is inviting you into this. It's not you saying like, oh, I'm just not going to say anything, or I'm just not going to whatever. Like, I'm really sensing, and I have been for a while, that the Lord is kind of inviting me into a season to pray more and talk less. And the thing about it, is that it's not to punish me. It's actually to protect me. And it's more so to like shield us, and like he's forming something in us, and it's like to protect that before it's fully ready, but then also to deepen our dependence on him instead of opinions, advice, or outside voices. And the thing about it is, like, I've walked with the Lord for 18 years, and I'm just now really feeling like he's calling me into this season. And so it's going to be, there's some maturity. It's not going to happen as soon as you surrender your life to the Lord, right? But quiet seasons do force us to sit with unanswered questions. And they also remove the distraction of like the constant feedback and the different people and their advice and their opinions, or, you know, their questions, or them wanting, you know, progress or status updates or whatever. And it also, quiet seasons really teach us how to be honest with God without editing our words for anyone else. I said this in the last episode, where once I realized that the Lord knows everything anyway, it has really freed me up to be more honest with him, with my raw thoughts and emotions that he knows are already there and he's strong enough to carry. And I'm not saying I need to be fake, because I'm someone who's typically pretty transparent with whatever because of that revelation. So I didn't just get that revelation. I got it years ago. But I do still find myself censoring certain things when I'm having conversations with people, that I'm going to give God the more raw thoughts and opinions and whatever. And though sometimes what comes out is actually kind of uncomfortable once it's revealed, but it's in the silence and it's in the sitting that you kind of get that revelation. Like, I've actually challenged myself in this season to literally just sit still for 5 minutes. So not praying, not reading my Bible, not thinking about anything, which is actually really difficult to shut my mind off. But what I've noticed is, as I've allowed myself to do this, sometimes I've cried just because then I'm still enough to feel the weight of whatever, because there's just been so much that's happened realistically the last decade, but even in the past few years. And it's in that silence that what I'm actually carrying has been, you know, revealed. And then it's kind of in that silence, fears have been revealed that I haven't really realized, and that conversation has kind of covered that up, right? Because sometimes people, you know, they just want you to get past whatever. Now, granted, I'm not saying we should be led by our feelings, but our feelings are there. Like, you know, I think about the scripture where the Bible says, be angry and sin not, right? So the Bible says you can be angry, but don't sin in your anger. The Bible doesn't say don't be angry. You know what I mean? And so with that, sometimes conversation, people want you to feel better, and it's, you know, well-meaning intentions. It's not coming from a bad place, but sometimes you do need to sit with those feelings to actually figure what's going on, figure out. And then in the silence, it honestly a lot of times shows us like where we've been leaning on people more than we should lean on God. But the thing about it is, it can be uncomfortable, but that discomfort that we feel doesn't mean that like it's this dangerous thing. Oftentimes it means that we're going to grow. And really, there is a freedom that comes when you stop feeling like you have to explain yourself and you just let it be what it is. And there is freedom that comes when like you pray more and release the need to be understood by everybody. Like you've probably heard the saying like, I'm okay with being misunderstood, but like it was a play on words. It was a woman who posted this. But it is okay to be misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be understood by everybody, because the reality is there are going to be some people that are going to just be intent on misunderstanding you and your intentions and whatever. And the thing about it is there's also freedom when you let God carry what you can't even put into words. Sometimes I've noticed for me recently, there's been so much that I feel that I don't even fully understand, but it's been like, I can't shake it. And when I would try to talk to people about it, I feel like I just felt less at peace, if I'm honest, and like more confused. And and this has been like in the last few weeks, just talk less and pray more and go about business as usual in different environments. And again, it's not like I'm being fake. I really feel like the Lord is inviting me into this season. And the thing about it is my prayers have been so much deeper because they're not like filtered for, oh, can you pray for this? Right. But then also my prayers have been more raw and more honest because they've been really private. Right. Like I haven't been like, oh, can you pray for me for this thing that I'm wrestling with that I haven't landed in a place of even understanding of why I feel this, what it is I'm feeling even, it's just something just feels off and I don't understand why, right? And the thing about it is a lot of time breakthrough happens not when we're talking about what God is doing, but actually when we stop talking about what he's doing and just start trusting him with it. Like it's almost like we've prayed, we leave it at the altar, but we don't really leave it there. Like think about when you order like a package from Amazon or whatever, and you're checking, the tracking number to see when it's going to arrive. Like you trust that Amazon is going to deliver it, but at the same time, you're like, okay, when is it going to come? And you keep checking and you keep whatever. That's how I am sometimes. And so with that, when you kind of stop checking the tracking on stuff and then trust that God is going to do it, like that's when the breakthrough happens. And the reality too is that you don't owe everyone an explanation. Like you don't need permission to take things to God first. You don't have to narrate, every step of your healing or your growth. And also what I've noticed is like when you stop explaining yourself as much as, and this is like me, like I want to be understood. I, don't actually like being misunderstood. So I feel like over explain things and people still get confused. And I'm just like, but I've noticed since I've stopped, and this is recent, right? But as I've stopped over explaining myself, because that's what I feel like I've been doing, I like just start hearing God more clearly. And sometimes that honestly means being less available to things and not offering an explanation of why, and being okay with being the villain in someone's version of what happened. And with that, I'm not saying like be the villain and be okay with that, but I'm saying if your intentions were pure, your motives were pure, and your actions weren't malicious, sometimes people are going to take them how they want to take them anyway, and you have to be okay with that. And the thing about it too is that not everyone deserves access to every season of your life, regardless of who they were in the past. Seasons shift, and you have to be really led by God and really trust what he's leading you into as seasons shift, because like sometimes our faith is fragile. obedience to a certain thing is like kind of new, or like your healing is even, still kind of fresh or tender, or, kind of still in process. And those moments need to really be guarded, right? And like privacy isn't necessarily secrecy. So I'm not saying that, but it is stewardship. Excuse me. And like guarding what he's doing doesn't mean you never share, but it does mean that you share wisely. So it could be that before you used to share with like 10 different people in your life, or 5, and God is saying like, no, only these 1 or 2 people. Or it could be you're only supposed to share certain aspects of it. And it's really just allowing God to strengthen what he's building before it's exposed to opinions or misunderstandings. And the honest thing is that sometimes the most quote unquote spiritual thing that you can do is to keep something between you and God until you feel peace in place of the pressure that you were feeling about a specific thing. And it's so wild how I got that revelation. Like I literally was talking to so many different people about a specific area of my life, and I just felt so much pressure. And once I stopped talking to people, because I kept seeing things from like different spiritual accounts I follow online that were like, you're in a season of like, pray more, say less. So I kept seeing that. That's where I got the title from. And once I finally kind of just surrendered to that, I felt such peace, and just, and don't even feel the need to like explain or give updates or anything. It's just like, this is something that the Lord is inviting me into, like, praying more and saying less. And the thing about it is, as I've learned to guard certain things and certain moments, again, there's wisdom with how the Lord wants you to do this. So this isn't this rogue thing where I'm just like, I'm just going to do this and da 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 da. No, it's actually, because this is new for me, it's actually brought about like even deeper dependence on the Lord, and even like more conversation about, what should I share, or what should I do, or when is the time after I've talked to him when like maybe I should go talk to somebody else, right? But as I've done that and learned to be a little slower, I have just noticed a shift internally. I feel peace more than anything, but like also not feeling the need to control things as much and control the outcome, and just more proactive instead of reactive, and really not necessarily worrying about the affirmation of people, because at the end of the day, I do trust, God's plan for my life. And so, yeah, my encouragement to you is like, if you're in a season where you feel the Lord is saying like, pray more, talk less, it's not a bad thing, right? Because at the end of the day, you're being obedient, you're listening, you're learning, but you're also trusting. And my encouragement, and what I know to be true, is it's going to deepen your relationship with the Lord in a way that it couldn't if you continued to like process everything with everyone else first. And the thing about it is, like, you being silent doesn't mean you're stagnant. You know what I mean? Like, and think about with the Lord, with the Lord. It's like when God is silent, it doesn't mean he's not moving. You always hear it said that even when you can't see it, he's working. Even when you can't feel it, he's working. Like, he never stops working, but there are times when he's silent. So like, it doesn't mean you're not moving. The quiet that you may have, as other people view it, doesn't mean nothing's happening. But what it does mean is that some of the deep work that the Lord needs to do needs to happen away from all the noise, away from all the opinions. And you have to be okay with not explaining it, right? You just have to stay faithful to it. So, yeah, that's my encouragement to you. And, I would encourage you to really ask the Lord to speak to you and show you when to be still and kind of like when you need to listen longer, when you even maybe do need to share certain things and like what that looks like, and, just be slower to do what you've always done and like ask him for the wisdom to kind of guard what he's doing and have peace in the quiet seasons, like lean on him, for that, and he will give it to you. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this is more so you taking care of yourself spiritually, but it could also be you taking care of yourself mentally because it's silencing the noise. This could be a way that you take care of yourself emotionally, right? At the end of the day, though, those things have to be healthy along with being healthy spiritually so that you can be healthy in your relationship. So again, thank you for tuning in. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.